you very much, Mr Mason. I now call Maggie Chapman to be followed by Graham Simpson for up to 6 minutes. Ms Chapman.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I welcome this debate. I'm glad that we're talking explicitly about the wellbeing economy, and I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to contribute to this important motion. Greens used to have to wait for our rare Opposition Day debate to bring a discussion on the nature of economic growth. Now everyone is doing it. I thank John Swinney for the conversations we've had on this and many other topics over time, and I wish him well and look forward to seeing him cause trouble from the backbenches. This motion sets out the vision which we share of a Scotland that works for everyone, that nurtures everyone, a Scotland that creates communities of justice and care and real prosperity, a Scotland that treasures and protects its natural environment, not just for ourselves, but for its own sake and for generations to come. We can agree, at least most of us, that's what we're setting our sails towards. That's what we mean by well-being. But the more contentious question is this: how do we get there? Do we prioritise economic growth, with well-being as an added extra, something we hope will come along for the ride, something we'll encourage with little nudges, some gentle pottering around the edges? Or do we consciously choose well-being, choose to prioritise the good of people and planet in all the ways that this motion encompasses? That choice will involve growth for many sectors, those we need for a sustainable, caring and creative future, but not all, and rightly so. Growth is a positive word, imbued for us with millennia of good associations. We see the growth of a tree, a child, a community, and we rejoice. But economic growth, GDP, measures neither health nor development, neither care nor creativity, only the narrowly defined product of economic exchange. GDP increases with disaster and contracts with generosity. It makes no distinction between price and value, between healthy nutrition and catastrophic consumption. It only asks how much, never for whom, why, or how. And when we only ask the question how much, those positioned to answer are those who have the most already. Making money out of money isn't hard, unless perhaps you're Liz Truss, especially when you have the right connections. The tough bit is to get it where it's needed. Prioritising economic growth, privileging GDP, cannot help but reward the rich and punish the poor. It cannot help but, in its obsession with counting, see the natural world as a warehouse of raw commodities, view ecological destruction as an externality of the edges, regrettable but inevitable. This is where the fixation on GDP, that paltry measure only ever meant to fill in some statistical gaps, has brought us as a global community to the overlapping crises of inequality, injustice, ecological and climate breakdown. It's a path that the current Westminster government is happy to continue along, even after this week's heartbreakingly clear warnings from the IPCC. There is, it seems, no other path they even see, never mind have the integrity to take. Brashly by Johnson, bizarrely by Truss, and blandly by Sunak, they'll keep on singing the only song they know, even as the darkness deepens. But we can do differently and achieve different results, transforming not just our economy, but our society, our communities, our families, and our futures. And this is not a niche perspective. Just a few months ago, over 100 charities, academics and others, Oxfam, the Scottish Men's Sheds Association, Scottish Women's Aid, the STUC, the NSPCC, and many others wrote to the First Minister calling for an urgent transition to a wellbeing economy, one that, and I quote, delivers good lives for all people and protects the health of our planet. These are people and organisations whose work shows them starkly and brutally, day after day, what good lives would really mean and how far short we are falling. So we must go back to what the economy should really be about, creating a better world. We do this by eliminating the problems Beveridge identified: want, disease, ignorance, squalor, and idleness. And we must build on what we now know, that we must put people at the heart of addressing those challenges. We need to do with people, not do unto people. We've seen the success of community buyouts. We need more of this. We must give workers the right to buy their businesses. We need to transform the processes of government and democracy to put citizens at the heart of those decisions that affect them. We need more participatory budgeting, and we need an end to the hegemony of advice from the big consulting firms and vested interests. Let's rely on our understanding of the world, not rely on those most responsible for getting us into this mess. There is, of course, much valuable work being done by the Scottish Government, by the third sector, by all the signatories of that letter, and many more besides. All that work on child poverty, on climate action, on the circular economy, on progressive tax and much more, all of that forms part of the creation of a wellbeing economy. Especially critical at the intersection of social injustice and the climate crisis is the need for a just transition, a radical envisioning of what a post-hydrocarbon, justice-centred, thriving and joyful future looks like for communities across Scotland, with practical plans of how to get there and get there fast. But all these elements will remain disparate, disconnected, without an overarching priority for well-being over economic growth.
You do need to conclude, Ms Chapman.
In conclusion, as long as all we do has to be slotted into the artificial and archaic framework of GDP, it will never be as effective, as revolutionary, as transformative, as human as it urgently needs to be. Now is a time for critical choice. That window will not stay open forever.
Thank you, Ms Chapman. I now call